In a world overrun with the fake, delusional, and disingenuous, he stands as a beacon of truth. He is Abuki Cabal. You are listening to Abuki Cabal.
Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
What's going on, everybody? I've been dreading doing this show. This is going to be my first show since Kevin's passing. I didn't personally know Kevin, but I remember being on panels with him as he made his rounds through the manosphere, talking to other people whom I respect in the manosphere, discussing topics about the betterment of the Black community. From the way we carry ourselves as men to what we should inspire women to do and to care and to be like, how we should properly vet women whom we aspire to marry and to have children with. Of course, there was, sometimes some talk that was, like barbershop talk, and, guys joking around about things that guys joke around about. But for the most part, the guys in here, Kevin included, want a better outcome for our community. And it kind of pains me to listen to men who are established people, like D.L. Hughley, whom I respect. He has always tried to do what was right by our community and to inspire us to think in a better fashion with regard to politics and our world around us, outside of joking. And I respect the hell out of that, But when it comes down to Kevin, DL felt like Kevin was mean-spirited and like he put women down and, all of the things that people tend to say about Kevin who didn't take the time to go into research and to actually listen to him talk and listen to him about the things that he talked about that was important. He made some statements about, Kevin dying alone and, it being sad and no one being around to, no one could get in touch with him. No one, they couldn't get in touch with anyone to let them know that he had passed, things of that nature. But I'm going to go ahead and play that and I will respond to that and rebut that because those of us who are in the sphere and those of us who listen to Kevin and who cared about him and his mission, the mission that he chose to undertake. Know better when people say that, I listened to him. You can tell who's listened to him. You can tell who hasn't listened to him and who is comfortable with their position in the world and don't really like to deal with uncomfortable topics. Some people are just comfortable with the way things are. They don't like to rock the boat, nor do they want to impress upon people to conduct themselves in a better way. And I think that's a lot of what we are getting now. But I'm rambling here, but I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get to it. But it was very, very, very sad to hear him say this. And with the time that he took to talk about Kevin and to give his comments about Kevin, which he did on a couple of occasions that I know of, one before this and then one now, after his passing. And he didn't take the time to actually listen to the man, to try to at least know where he was coming from as a man. And instead of, trying to disparage him the way he did. But you guys take a listen and tell me what you think after I cover a little bit of it. So here we go. Okay, here we go.
So, of course, we were all greeted with the news of Kevin Samuels passing. And it's interesting because we had just the previous week on Wednesday, we had one of the DLQs we did was about the last statement that I was aware that he made. One of the things broadcast he performed was when he said that basically if you're 35 years old and you're not married, you are a leftover, which is indicative of the kind of things that he used to say. As a matter of fact, when I first heard of him, I was with my road manager, and he was listening to something he said, and it struck me as cruel and unnecessary. And subsequently, I've heard a lot of things that had come out that seemed to have that same tone. And so, when he died, I felt really bad because I thought, even in death, that some of the comments were just so vitriolic and so acrimonious. I thought that they didn't necessarily fit the crime. I thought that it was just unnecessarily cruel. The man had run his race. Everything was over. He wasn't a rapist or a murderer or a child molester or anything of that sort. But whatever he did, it stirred up these strong feelings of vitriol. So I was talking to a frat brother of mine, and I wanted to do something, to say something. So I was talking to him about, how I felt. And he was telling me that eulogy, the word, the Latin word eulogy means to speak well of. Not to add, not to detract, but to speak well of. So with that in mind, I'd gone on social media to look at whatever I could to find something that was good to say. And I can say this, that mostly everything I saw in terms of his profile was always well-produced pictures and him wearing sunglasses and looking cool and well-dressed, but nothing personal. I remember I had posted, I sent out a tweet and I said that R. Kelly would get warmer condolences than Kevin Samuels was getting, which I thought was out of line. I thought that, the punishment didn't necessarily fit the crime. And somebody on Twitter said, well, R. Kelly made people feel good too. He wasn't just what he did. So in death, what you have are two things: how people made you feel and how you remember them. And I think.
Okay, I'm gonna stop there for a second because I'm gonna try to pick this apart as he presents it. Okay, he's trying to say something to speak well of Kevin, but I mean, as you can hear through his own admission, he says that basically he tried to find something good to say about him, but he did so without actually listening to his content and trying to get to know the man through what he was saying, which I find to be disingenuous. He says these are well-produced pictures and there was nothing personal on there. Well, yeah, I understand he's looking for something personal, something that he can kind of pick from that, family pictures, whatever the case may be. But you have to realize that he, as a comedian, also should realize that basically there's some things, he has to protect himself. He has to protect his family as well. And I'm sure DL has security. I'm sure he has security in places where his family may be in danger, where he may be in danger. So he should understand that Kevin took measures to try to protect himself from the attacks from these people who he was trying to help, who would basically struggle and resist any efforts that he may put forth. These people, as you all know, would come across with a degree of delusional thinking that is almost mythical in proportions. And if DL watched the content, he would have seen what he was doing. He would have seen the types of people that he's dealing with. And now that Kevin has passed, he talked about the comments and the nature of the comments. Don't you think that it was justified for him to try to take measures to protect his family and himself from these types of personal attacks that are coming from people who didn't even know him? People who are stars, people who have the means to take measures to try to dox him or whatever the case may be, or maybe, commit physical harm to him. Not only did they attack Kevin, but they attacked the young lady that he was with. And for these women to be so pro-woman, they were talking about the lady being fat and, all manner of stuff, But the hatred in these comments is sickening, and to have read them real time as this was going on, it was crazy. I was reaching out to people when I first started watching it. I was on Platinum Elite's show as he was airing it. And I think he started airing it at about 10,000 tweets. And we were on there watching it real time and trying to give some, to get some clarity on what was going on. We thought it was a hoax, and by the time it hit almost 50,000, that's when it came through that it had been confirmed that he had passed. So, you have that. You have people saying that the girl wasn't a nurse, that she was an escort. That she was an escort, that she was everything other than what she was. And these women are still continuing to this day. I think there's still hundreds of tweets on Kevin, today alone, and it's fallen off, but there have been thousands of tweets. He's been covered all over the world, but the man didn't make a significant impact. People have said things like he was a misogynist and all this. None of that stuff is founded. Can't prove anything with regard to him hating women and not trying to help these women, because he spent night after night, hours trying to help these women to see that their expectations were far in excess of what was possible. But rather than tell these women the truth, society would rather tell these women that they have a chance, roll the dice, spend money, yeah, you can take these trips. You can be rich, dare to be rich. It's a trapezoid scheme, They want you to buy into this. No one wants to live with an uncomfortable truth when they can have this comfortable lie. And you see people in every strata of society embracing this comfortable lie. As long as they're comfortable, it doesn't make any difference. Allow them to continue to do what they're doing. And because he died of a heart attack, they want to say that somehow he was living an unhealthy life, and that he's, getting what he deserved because of him talking about, fat women being unhealthy, living an unhealthy life. Well, statistically, both black men and black women die at a greater rate than anyone else due to heart disease. So Kevin could have been doing nothing and died of heart disease. Or he could have had an unhealthy lifestyle. Or he could have, because of his past medical history with, being a cancer survivor, that could have contributed to it. But as of yet, we don't know anything. And for people to come out and say the hateful things that they've said is ridiculous. But let's move on, finish this up.
That Kevin Samuels was an amalgamation, his profile, his social media presence was designed to do one thing, and that was to forward an image. It seems like this is the one that he was comfortable with people having of him. And that seems sad to me. Even, the way that we've learned of his death, it took 24 hours before anybody could confirm it. What that tells me is that either nobody cared or knew how to get in contact with somebody. It is a shame.
How do you get in contact with a person who's dead? Tell me that, deal. I'm a nurse, and this is not uncommon. This happens quite a bit, even with people who are in the hospital, where people know that they're in the hospital. Sometimes it takes hours to get in touch with people, to inform the next of kin, so that you can release information. And in this case, Kevin died at home with a person who was a friend of his. The girl has come out and stated, to my understanding, that she was not a one night stand or someone that he had just met, as has been portrayed, that she somewhat knew him. So I can't confirm that, but that's what I've heard. I will look into that a little bit more. But the girl's trying to come out to take precautions to try to protect her image and to try to remove some of the things that have been said about her from the internet. So she's looking for legal representation at this time for that. So, that's a serious situation, but this is not uncommon. So for someone who has, if you don't know, say you don't know, but to presume that he lived some lonely, solemn lifestyle and that no one knew him, that's crazy. He could have reached out to Dennis Spurling. He could have reached out to any number of the people who Kevin called friends, who he had shown that he had reached out to, that he had went to go visit, took it upon himself to go out to their cities and to visit them and fellowship with them and talk to them to try to make alliances for his mission. Not only his mission, but the manosphere's mission, which was in stages. Kevin was on his second stage and moving forward, but this is not going anywhere. This movement is bigger than Kevin. Kevin was a part of it, but these ideas are shared by women and men who want to change some things about our community because they are no good for our community, because these ideas were injected into our community by people who meant us no good. And it's unfortunate that you have to almost fight people in order for them to just read the history that Kevin was talking about, the statistics that Kevin's talking about, all of which were predicted 60 years ago. Some of them 70 years ago. And you can track the progression of this cancer that has been eating at our community for that long. And that's what Kevin was talking about. But some people only listen to sound bites. They can only touch upon little pieces of an idea because they don't have a macro visualization of what he's talking about. They can only focus on the micro. And I'm going to tell you another problem with a lot of people is that, they don't want to read. If it's not in a quick, digestible piece, they will not even listen for very long. I listen to enough. I have to wrestle with my wife about the same mess. I heard enough. I heard enough to know that what he's talking about is no good. So you have a bunch of people moving and proceeding off of half of the information and not the entire piece of information. So they are willfully ignorant about the nature of what this man was talking about, as well as the rest of us. I mean, Alf was even talking about how, the manosphere is going to be looked upon as a terrorist organization and almost cheering for it with no information, no reason whatsoever to even try to support something like that. But to watch black women just be giddy about the possibility of black men being rounded up for trying to get them to put some clothes on or to marry better, to stop, sleeping with guys and having babies by guys that are no good, to stop arguing with people and arguing with men, fighting with other women, carrying yourself in a dignified fashion, not believing the fact that you think that everybody out here is making $100,000 and that is what you have to be happy with a man. And if a man doesn't have that, he is no good. Saying things like a man is his only purpose is to be here, to be basically farmed like a natural resource so that women can take trips and run around looking pretty. And then once they get old, then all of a sudden, hey, I'll maybe pick one to spend the rest of my life with. That is crazy. And people need to say that that's crazy. But unfortunately, people don't want to do that. Then you have the men on the other side of the equation who basically feel like, hey, I'm going to tell these women whatever I need to tell them for me to get these coochie credits that I can use later on down the line. Maybe I can be her friend and ease in through the back door. Then you got some people saying Kevin was tricking when he openly admits that he used escorts rather than to go on these outings in places alone. Because if you show up alone, that is not looked upon in a favorable light. So he didn't have sex with these women. He took them to a party, said thank you, and bye-bye. So escorts do more than just have sex with men. But a lot of people don't know any better. And a lot of black folks just don't educate themselves on different aspects of cultural interaction with people and with corporate entities and things like that. So we assume that we know a lot of things and we act like we're cultured and we act like we're in certain social circles. We fake it until we make it. We're the best at that. And that's why you have so much hate on people who make it. Black folks are legendary for that too. We hate folks who make it. We love to judge each other. And this is part of that equation. But let's move on.
Did that happen? Cut your phone off for 24 hours and see how many calls you get. See how many people are checking for you. See if they're worried about you. And if that's not the case, I would submit that you're not living right. I would submit that you need to change something. Kevin Samuels was a human being. I think it's a shame when any human being dies. But all you left when somebody dies is what they left you, the memories. Either some are good or some are bad. But you have, in totality, the totality of the person. You get to say who they are. You get a broad, pretty broad picture. I'm this and I'm that. It seemed with Kevin, he wanted to be perceived as this thing. Now, I can't say that he was a bad man. I know he played one on social media. I can't say that he was a cruel man. I know he played one on social media.
Neither of which is true. He greeted everybody warmly, and he had a certain set of rules. You will not disrespect me on my show. You will not overtalk me on my show. Things that Black women have become way too comfortable with, disrespecting men as if that's okay. That didn't used to be the case. You know, when they talk about, people not being raised with fathers and all that stuff. But, you have these women out here who are growing up thinking that in order for you to be respected, you have to disrespect a man or come at a man like you're a man. And no man wants to wrestle for the dominant position with somebody he just met, especially on the phone or any other circumstance. I'm sure DL knows that, but, I don't know. I mean, every man deals with women in a different way. And I think some of us have become accustomed to dealing with women from a handicapped position. And Kevin was working to try to switch that up. It's okay to be soft and to say hi and to be feminine. Far too many of our women are becoming more masculine than most men. Walking around looking like little boys around here. And some of that needs to stop.
It was a shame when you go on, and Kevin Samuels, it took 24 hours, of certainly a very long time, to confirm his death. And he didn't die on a foreign road. He didn't die in a foreign country with remote access. He died in the very city that he was born and raised in. He died in the company of a woman he just met, apparently. He died at a hospital he probably drove by, which was, minutes away from where he lived. And he died with no significant outpouring. Like I'm looking through social media, and I'm looking at posts, and I'm looking at even the way that articles that do come out are worded. They seem benign and antiseptic.
So did you go to YouTube, DL? Did you look at the hundreds of content creators who are making content regarding Kevin? Far more than the ones who are saying negative things. Have you looked at some of the stories that are being written on about Kevin, where they're saying that basically what he was getting is not what he deserved? People who interviewed him, who had glaring things to say about him and what he was trying to do. I mean, if you did your research, you didn't do it very well. I would encourage you to reach out to Dennis. Dennis was close with Kevin. O'Shea, Duke Jackson, close with Kevin Samuels. BGS Ibmore, close with Kevin, spoke with Kevin, was one of the people who were trying to reach out to figure out whether Kevin was still alive. All of us were trying to figure out whether he was alive, which makes up dozens of guys who were concerned. And outside of that, I'm sure it was hundreds, maybe thousands of guys who were concerned, and women, people on there hanging on the edge of their seat, trying to figure out whether this man was okay or not. Nobody cared when people were calling the coroner, calling all of the hospitals, calling all of the ambulance services, trying to figure out whether Kevin Samuels had something that happened to him. I think that's disingenuous at best.
I don't see anybody saying, we lost a real one, or please respect our privacy.
He hasn't seen any of that. Now, guys, I know my audience is small, but let me tell you, you guys know this is a lie. This is terrible. I mean, for him to say that. And with him saying that, I encourage you guys to go reach out to DL and tell him you were wrong on this. You're very wrong on this.
At times like this, or we're going to miss you, or rest it, like none of that. It seems to be vitriolic. I don't subscribe to the notion that there is black women are leveling karma, because I would say that if that were true, then there would be a whole lot less baby daddies. But I think that you do get what you give.
Some of the same stuff that Kevin was talking about. Now here you are striking out laughing about some of the very things that Kevin is talking about baby daddies. But you don't get what Kevin was talking about. You don't get it. That's what I'm saying. So you get these little tales, as Kevin would say, where people really get it, but they don't want to say anything about it. He gets it, but he's staying on that safe side. You know? Look us in the eye when you're telling us this bullshit, DL. You know? You're looking up, looking all around, look into the camera and tell us that, you know, Kevin didn't have anybody to care about him, and that, you know, all you saw was negative comments, because I saw a whole lot more than that. And I was watching it real time on Twitter, on YouTube.
You get what you give. And if that was negativity, that will happen in death. And that's sad, because to die alone, nobody can identify you. Paupers die like that. Homeless people die like that. The people who society has rejected die like that. Not a man with millions of followers and a high value man, as he coined the phrase. It is sad that happened. It is sad that his death is being met with a collective yawn and acrimony. It is sad. But when you die in an apartment, in the company of a stranger, in the very city you were born and reared in, minutes away from the very hospital you drive by every day, that says a lot about how you lived. That says a lot about how you were perceived. People need to miss you, but to miss you and to speak fondly of you, they need to give you memories that are fond. I will learn that lesson. I will take away from this, and I'm very sorry for his family. I'm very sorry for what the people that did love him, even though I think in society at large we don't know a lot about them. I'm very sorry for that. But I am sorry that if this was not who he truly was, I'm sorry that this is how he'll be remembered. I've learned a lot. And one thing, you got to give people something to miss. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up.
Okay. So that's what he had to say. But he didn't take the time to, look at some of these people like Torian Walker, who, posted Dennis D. Spurling's, pictures where he and Kevin, MTR, and the lead attorney were all together. All of these men have been working, talking about different aspects of what Kevin talked about every night. Every single night. MTR was attacked by some of the same people. Once he met with Kevin, these people came after him. You should hear some of the stuff they say about him. Anyone who speaks out against the sacred cow that is the black woman will be attacked. And when we all go, this is what they'll say. They'll say that we were filled with nothing but hate, and that we didn't want anything but the downfall of the black woman. And that's not what we want. It's not what we want. But they're fighting viciously to try to make it look like that's what we want. If this is equality, then I don't want it. If this is what equal treatment is like, where this man can't say what he feels and what he wants to say, but they can say whatever they want to about him, then I don't want that. Dennis has been working tirelessly to try to keep these people from attacking him, as well as putting his own message out. People are out here trying to make GoFundMe accounts, fake, trying to make money off of Kevin's death, unauthorized. Media outlets reporting fake news about his financial status. All of this. This is Kevin and Dennis together. Dennis bought Kevin a very expensive cologne assortment that Kevin was very, very happy to receive. Dennis and his fiancee, whom he met through Kevin's efforts. But see, if you didn't do any research, you wouldn't know anything about that. Okay? I encourage you people to reach out to Dennis, and to, show your appreciation for what he's trying to do, and trying to keep people from destroying Kevin's name and his image. On May the 14th, he's going to be doing a memorial service. I encourage you people to go and to attend that. Say something good. Show those numbers to show that people are actually, they care about what Kevin was trying to do. People will miss his content. People will miss the show. And he has made an impact. Regardless of what they try to make you believe. I'm going to show you one more thing here. 650 tweets in the last hour. So they're still tweeting about him. They've released the 911 tapes, which further confirms that the young lady was a nurse. People say, well, how do they know that she was a nurse? Well, if you call in and you're asking for an AED, you got to know how to use it. Some people are trained to use them, with CPR and whatnot. But she was also on the police report, which means that she had to show her ID. She had to confirm that she was a nurse and that she was who she says she was. And it's on the report. And they're going to have to follow up if anything else comes up. Okay? Now here's another little bit of information. People are saying that Kevin was broke.
I'm sorry. I just feel you should never celebrate another person's death. He is still somebody's brother, somebody's wife, husband, someone's son, someone's cousin. So I do feel that. But can we unpack this? Because let me tell you what really shocked me. What really shocked me about this is I studied his analytics on his social media platform, right? And like I shared, he had 1.4 million followers. Do you know that 70% of those followers were female, Black females? When you look at the demographics of his analytics, 70+% were Black females. And that just blew my mind because from his analytics, they showed how much he made from Black females following and supporting his podcast, and it was north of $3 million. So can someone help me understand? I'm sorry. I just feel you should never celebrate another person's death. He is still somebody's brother, somebody's wife, Okay,
it's starting over. So north of $3 million. Okay? But he's broke. Okay. Now let's listen to Kevin, the man himself, about what he wanted.
I need to really say this. I take no particular pride or pleasure in doing shows like this because I know it triggers certain Black women. I know they do. I know some of them get pissed. I've heard women on YouTube saying things that they don't watch the show end to end. And I'm not going to, and that's not going to change anything because there are far more women and far women who are listening. And who are the recipients? The women who listen end to end and are saying, well, you've changed my life. You've helped me look at this way or that way. Those women are benefiting. And guarantee when those women come into contact with men doing something, they all benefit. We're better off working with each other, trying to understand one another. None of us are perfect. Certainly not me. I ain't shit. I got a lot of problems. It's like anybody else. We all got issues. But just like Ice Cube, when the brother steps up to do something, support. Find ways to support. Even if you have an issue with something it's doing, can you find 4 or 5 things about it that you like before you start off with the one thing you don't like? Because you cannot keep painting Black men in this ain't shit box. They don't all fit there. And brothers are starting to push back and say, no, 51% of us are single and childless and 64% in the middle class. They're here. Can you interact with them just in a peaceful, civil way? If you never get married and never have kids, can you have a higher quality of life? Can you just be happy? Can you stop walking through life with your hands up ready to fight the reflection of you, the opposite sex reflection of you? I don't walk through life looking at black women as though they're my enemy. And I would hope that for the black women who this applies, you stop walking through life assuming that black men are somebody to challenge, there's somebody to overcome, to struggle against. We don't need that.
Now, what's wrong with that? I just don't understand where all the vitriol is coming from with regard to that. I don't understand it. But he's saying that he doesn't see anybody who is praising him. Here's this Kevin Samuels TV Twitter page is full of people. So I don't understand where all of this is coming from. But it does not make sense for him to make the claims that he has made regarding Kevin. And he hasn't looked. He hasn't spent any time trying to figure out, who the man was, to listen to him, to figure out what's going on. So, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down here. I'm sorry I've been gone. It was really rough dealing with that in such a short time between losing my grandmother and my cousin. But I felt like I had to do this, and I will not allow anyone to speak badly about this man and to say things that are dishonest and untrue, knowing that they haven't listened to his content and they don't understand what he's trying to do as far as the image of black men and the interaction between black men and black women in order to save our community. All of this divesting and everybody going in different directions is not the answer, but it will be the answer if it continues to go down the road that it's going. Because nobody's going to be able to be amicable towards each other or to cooperate with each other. Cooperation is the last thing on people's minds now, and that is unfortunate. But we will miss you, Kevin. I will miss you. I will miss the show. I will miss the effort that you put into trying to fix this problem that persists year after year, day after day, month after month. And it just doesn't seem to be going away. Everybody just thinks that they can just earn their way out of it. The more money I make, the more people I'll come into contact with that are better, but my attitude is still shit. The community is still faltering. Kids are out here, still killing each other. Boys are out here uneducated, because they're being left behind because we're putting all our resources into girls and encouraging boys to be nothing, telling them that they're nothing. And any man who's trying to tell them that there's something different from that, then somehow you're disparaging women. And I don't understand that. But we will continue. This message is not going anywhere. All this is going to do is the next man's going to be up, or the next 2, 3, 4, 5 men maybe be up. But more people were inspired by Kevin than were deterred by Kevin. And I think people need to be shown that we're not going anywhere. Thank you guys for listening. And please like, share, and subscribe. And continue to support the manosphere in our efforts to make our community a better place for our kids and for future generations.